everybody. We're talking about do-it-yourself kangaroo courts number 3. Never plea bargain. And here's why. Kangaroo court is a term descriptive of a sham legal proceeding in which a person's rights are totally disregarded and in which the result is a foregone conclusion because of the bias of the court or other tribunal. And that's Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. So in part 1, we talked about how all courts and how there's 2 general kinds, 3 general types of jurisdiction, what a kangaroo court is, why they're holding a kangaroo court, why they want you to have a liar, and how to tell if it's a kangaroo court, and what they do in a kangaroo court, and how they're Satanists. Part 2, we talked about, again, more about how to tell it's a kangaroo court, what they do, what's been done by others to defeat the kangaroo courts without going into the kangaroo court, and some things to do if they drag you in there. And now this is part 3. We're going to talk about why they want you to plea bargain and what happens if you do enter into a plea bargain. So, point 1 is everything's a fraud, okay? Everything they do is a fraud. It's a lie. All the courts are owned and operated by the Roman cult. It's a satanic religious ceremony. They cannot speak the truth. They're Satanists. It's color of law, a fraud. It's the appearance of justice, a fraud. This is Avalon Project. This is the Definitive Treaty of Peace of 1783. And it says, it having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent tyrant, George III, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain and France. So he was, well, we'll talk about that. And he was also the arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United States of America. So, in essence, King George signed the Definitive Treaty of Peace as the King of England and France. And King George signed the Definitive Treaty of Peace as the Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire and the United States of America. So King George financed both sides of the War of Independence with Roman cult money. King George, with the cooperation of the Roman cult Jesuits, deliberately created the circumstances that brought about the War of Independence. Okay, so it was all orchestrated. So Queen Elizabeth is the successor to the tyrant, okay? Queen Elizabeth, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, and Harper have been convicted by the International Tribunal into crimes of church and state, and they've convicted the bitch of the corporation called Canada and others for crimes against humanity and genocide related to the First Nations in Canada and elsewhere. This is taken right from the International Tribunal for the Crimes Against Church and State, their website. And guilty, the final verdict is rendered in first common law court case against the Vatican and Canada for genocide. And then if you read that, let's see if we can maybe get that bigger. Yeah, there we go. The Pope and the Queen and the Canadian Prime Minister found guilty of crimes against humanity, sentenced to 25-year prison terms. And if you go down at the bottom there, it says the jury ruled that each defendant received mandatory 25-year prison sentence without parole and have all their personal assets seized. And then this is the second page of that press release. This is a closer-up view. The guilty parties include Elizabeth Windsor, Queen of Canada, Stephen Harper, Prime Minister of Canada, and the head officers of the Catholic, Anglican, and United Church of Canada. The guilty verdict followed a month of deliberations by more than 30 sworn citizen jurors of the 150 case exhibits produced by court prosecutors. These exhibits detailed irrefutable proof of a massive criminal conspiracy by the defendants' institutions to commit and conceal genocide on generations of children in so-called Indian resident schools across Canada. These crimes were aimed at children and were cold and calculated plan to wipe out Indians who weren't Christians. Okay, and so these people are Satanists. And this is the last page, and it said issued by the Central Office, the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, 25th of February 2013. So they were all convicted. And so an ecclesiastical court is an admiralty court, okay? So a citation, okay? How many times have you gotten a citation? Anytime you get stopped by the code enforcers, you get a citation. Well, you know what a citation is? A citation is a summons to appear, applied particularly to process in the spiritual court. Ecclesiastical courts proceed according to the course of the civil and canon laws by citation and libel, okay? That's all admiralty. Okay, that's Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835, Volume 1. And then a citation, a summons to peer, apply particularly to process in spiritual court. Ecclesiastical courts proceed according to the course of civil and canon laws. And then Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, citations, also the name of the process used in English ecclesiastical, probate, and divorce courts. And that's a cite from Blackstone's commentaries. So here we have the judge works for the state, prosecutor works for the state, the police witness works for the state. It's a kangaroo court. The vast majority of the disputes that the police initiate on behalf of their employer are also adjudicated by their employer, where the plaintiff, the judge, the antagonist, the police, and the only witness, also the police, all represent the same party. And since there's no corpus delicti, mens rea or acts reus, can be produced, don't technically qualify to be heard before, according to their own laws. The state, therefore, is indistinguishable from a criminal cartel, and that's why it's a kangaroo court. A color of office, a pretense of official right to do an act made by one who has no such right. Such person must at least be a de facto officer, an act wrongfully done by an officer under pretended authority of his office and grounded upon corruption, to which the office is a mere shadow of color. And that's Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1897 edition. Jacob A. New Law Dictionary, 1750 edition. Jesuits, etc., in the King's Dominion and ordained by the pretended jurisdiction of Rome. Okay, that's the Roman cult. And a pretended act of Parliament for turning books of law and proceedings of court of justice into English was declared to be in force. And that's another Jacob A. New Law Dictionary definition. So this is taken from the Declaration of Independence. He's combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Okay, it's a fraud. It's color of law. For imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. And that's taken directly from the Declaration of Independence. Colorability. This is a Canadian definition, a doctrine invoked when a statute is addressed to a matter outside jurisdiction, though it bears the formal trappings of a matter within jurisdiction of the enacting legislature. Barron's Dictionary of Canadian Law, 6th edition, says colorable, presenting an appearance that does not correspond to reality, or an appearance intended to conceal or deceive. And they even cite a Canadian case. Color of law, a mere semblance of a legal right. An action done under color of law is one done with an apparent authority of law, but actually in contravention of law. This is a Canadian court case, a reference Employment and Social Insurance Act, 1937. It may be legislation affecting the classes of subjects enumerated in Section 92, and if so, would be ultra vires. In other words, Dominion legislation, even though it deals with Dominion property. Okay, so again, all statutes deal with government property. And I don't care, Canada, U.S., anywhere. It's not, and then the other underlined part there says it's not necessarily that should be a colorable device or a pretense. So they're giving them the formula, okay, for the social insurance. How to make it happen, okay? Because this case here is when it got overturned. They're telling them how to do it. Color means an appearance, a semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real, a prima facie or apparent right. Hence a deceptive appearance, a plausible assumed exterior, concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. It's a lie. It's a fraud. Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. Colorable, that which is an appearance only and not in reality what it purports to be. Hence counterfeit, feigned, having the appearance of truth. It's a lie. That's all they deal in. They're a fraud. Color of law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. Misuse of power possessed by virtue of state law made possible only because wrongdoer is clothed with authority of a state is action taken under color of law. So they lie in wait for you to say the wrong thing so they can justify selling you into slavery. These Roman cult Satanist pigs do. And this is talking about give color. This is Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. Give color to admit either expressly or impliedly by signs that an opponent's allegations appear to be meritorious. In common law pleading, a defendant's plea of confession and avoidance had to give color to the plaintiff's allegations in the complaint, or the plea would be fatally defective. And And they have no authority. They assault you with their corporation is what they do, because they're hiding behind their corporation. And yet, according to the Supreme Court, no corporation is standing to do anything in any court. My opinion is, and has long been, that the mayor and alderman of a city corporation, or the president or directors of a bank, or the president and directors of a railroad company or other similar corporations are the true parties that sue and are sued as trustees and representatives of the constantly changing stockholders. A corporation, therefore, being not a natural person but a mere creature of the mind, invisible and intangible, cannot be a citizen of the state or of the United States, and cannot fall within the terms or the power of the above-mentioned article, and can therefore neither plead nor be implead in the courts of the United States. They are Satanists. They need you to participate. This is point number 2. They need you to participate. They're Satanists, and they know it's a fraud. It's all under Roman law. They need you in a contract. This is talking about admiralty, and the forms and modes and proceedings in causes of equity and admiralty and maritime jurisdiction shall be according to the civil law, okay? Well, hello, it's called Rules of Civil Procedure. Wayman and another versus Southern and another, and that's U.S. Supreme Court. 10 Wallace 1, that's like in the early 1800s. In Krebel's report, page 500, quoted by Brown, it's expressly said that without a stipulation, a contract, the Admiralty has no jurisdiction at all over the person. That's again U.S. Supreme Court. Tyson versus Swift, or Swift versus Tyson. There must be uniform maritime law, and the principles of maritime law are applicable to commercial law. Therefore, there must be uniform in commercial law. So commercial law and maritime law are the same. Civil law, Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence, that rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature or international law. And that's quoting, there's a bunch of quotes there, but it's taken out of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Admiralty law, the terms admiralty and maritime law are virtually synonymous, Black's 6th edition. It is well known that in civil cases in courts of equity and admiralty, juries do not intervene, and that courts of equity use the trial by jury only in extraordinary cases to inform the conscience of the court. In other words, they can ignore the jury. That's a trial with jury. It's not a trial by jury. The Admiralty from the highest antiquity has exercised a very extensive criminal jurisdiction. U.S. versus Flores, U.S. Supreme Court. Admiralty courts have jurisdiction over contracts. Okay, that's why they got to get a contract. And torts and other special cases. Okay, that's why they got to get you into their contract. It's a satanic contract. These people are Satanists. The Roman cult. Brown, Volume 2, 100 page, lays down the rule and terms. The general rule, however, at present is the Admiralty acts only in rem, and that no person can be subject to that jurisdiction but by his consent, expressed by his entering into a stipulation, a contract. Ramsey versus Allegory, again, U.S. Supreme Court, early 1800s. It's impossible to prove jurisdiction exists absent a substantial nexus with the state, such as a voluntary subscription to a license. All jurisdictional facts supporting the claim that supposed jurisdiction exists must appear on the record of the court. That's U.S. Supreme Court. Once a fraud, always a fraud. Things invalid from the beginning cannot be made valid by subsequent act. A thing void in the beginning does not become valid by lapse of time. Time cannot render valid an act void in its origin. Out of fraud, no action arises, and any action by any government official to conceal a fraud becomes an act of fraud. It is a fraud to conceal a fraud, and fraud is inexcusable and unpardonable. Fraud and deceit should excuse no man. These are all maxims of law. And any fraud amounts to injustice. Fraud and justice never dwell together. What is otherwise good and justice sought by force or fraud becomes bad and unjust. Okay, and these are all maxims of law. This is as old as time itself. So point 3, they deny due process. They must deny due process. They're Satanists. You're not allowed to face your accuser because your accuser is the state of XXX, whatever your state you happen to be in, or the United States, okay? It's impossible to face that accuser, okay? But that's exactly, you have the right to face your accuser, so that's a denial of due process. The judge is bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge. See Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts videos 1 and 2. The clerk cannot do anything judicial. Again, that's found in Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts videos 1 and 2. They assault you with the Roman cult Sestike trust. all of their evidence is hearsay. See, you do yourself Kangaroo court videos 1 and 2. If there's a jury, it's a trial with jury, not a trial by jury. They issue void judgments, which are brutum fulmen. See the void judgments video. So trial by jury is not a trial with jury. Trial by jury means the jury calls the witnesses, questions the witnesses, determine the law and the facts in the matter, and even pronounce a sentence if necessary, and there's no appeal. All these days, all courts are admiralty, all appeals are taken in admiralty, all sentences are given in admiralty. And this is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, under admiralty, citing Coke. The Institutes and the Laws of England, the writ of error doth not lie upon a sentence in admiralty, but an appeal. Okay, so all sentences are in admiralty, and an appeal is the only thing you can do in admiralty. And so the technical niceties of the common law are not regarded. A jury does not figure ordinarily in the trial of an admiralty suit. The verdict of the jury merely advisory and may be disregarded by the court. The rules of practice may be altered whenever found inconvenient or likely to embarrass the business of the court. Yeah, we want to railroad this guy, so let's just throw out the rules and do whatever we want to do. I mean, you ever heard about that happening? It happens every day. These Satanists, a court of admiralty acts upon equitable principles. Yeah, right, I'll bet it does. A libel of information does not require all the technical precision of an indictment at common law. If the allegations describe the offense, that's all that's necessary. If it's founded upon a statute, it's sufficient if it pursues the word of the law. And that is citing the Emily versus the Caroline, 9 Wheat 381, which is U.S. Supreme Court again. Every taxpayer, they're fabricating evidence of their cestui trust, okay? Every taxpayer is a cestui trust, having sufficient interest in preventing abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of the court's prerogative jurisdiction. That's Henry Boland's 1912. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the public charitable trust, the constructive cestui trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of USA and USA Inc. And that's found in Congressional Record, June 13, 1967, pages 15641 through 15646. So if anybody has ever looked at the Congressional Record, they will know that that's a summary of, because you got 5 pages of Congressional Record, which is a whole bunch more than I could put in one slide here. It might be correctly said that there is no such thing as a citizen of the United States. A citizen of any one of the states of the Union is held to being called a citizen of the United States, although technically and abstractly there is no such thing. And that's ex parte Frank Knowles. And this is found in Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, volume 2, under the definition of mort main. And yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity, for when they were driven out of all their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fees to the use of the religious houses. Okay, so that's a fictitious entity, thus distinguishing between the possession and use and receiving the actual profits, while the season of the land remained with the nominal fee, again a fictitious entity, who was held in the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, to be bound in conscience. Today the courts of equity, all the courts are under the clergy, okay, under the Baal priests, the Roman cult. Anyways, to be bound in conscience to account for his cestui use, okay, that's the fee, is the cestui use, for the rents and emoluments of the estate. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. And so the point being is that it's the Roman cult that did this. And at the very end, let me say that last underlined portion again, it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted to the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. Okay, and so that's the cestui trust. It's created by the Roman cult, and that's what they use. They put land under. That's why they spell your name in all block capital letters. That's the cestui trust. They assault you with a bar member. See the do-it-yourself Kangaroo Courts videos 1 and 2, and see the bar members videos 1, 2, and 3. A plea bargain. So what does a plea bargain do? The reason you do not want to do a plea bargain is you participate in their fraud. Okay, you give legitimacy to their fraud. Once you give legitimacy and you participate, you cannot object to the fraud. You cannot appeal. After doing a plea bargain in state court, I've seen other agencies proceed against someone for the same charges in federal court. I've seen that happen. People have contacted me because that's happened. But again, the bottom line is once you plea bargain, you cannot appeal. That's not subject to appeal now. You just agreed. You pleaded guilty is what you did. Okay? So you never, ever, ever plea bargain. This video is not intended to scare anyone and make feel like all is lost, because it absolutely is not. We need to know what the problem is before we can know what a good solution is. So what's the alternatives? Well, you make it so they do not want to talk to you, first of all. See the do-it-yourself estoppel certificates video. They have in their statutes, in their color of law statutes, they have to operate in good faith. And if you take away that good faith, well, now you make them personally liable. And it gets to where they don't want to talk to you. If they know that that's the case, then they don't want to talk to you. You file a notice of void judgment into the case. And if you're actually in there and you have to deal with it in there, then you demand a trial by jury, okay? And I guarantee you they don't want to have a trial by jury. They'll probably drop the charges. In a lot of cases, they will. And but again, you demand a trial by jury. If you're in there, then that's what you do. But the bottom line is I would do everything I can not to even go in there. The end justifies the means is satanic. Woe unto them that call it good evil and evil good. Evil good and good evil, and put darkness for light and light for darkness. If a man be found stealing of his brethren of the children of Israel, and make merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. And that's exactly what these Satanists are doing. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. Give me liberty or give me death. It was coined by Patrick Henry after he witnessed a man flogged to death for refusing to take a license. These people are all Roman cult Satanists, by which he also went and preached to the spirits in prison. Okay, so they're going to go to hell. That's what's going to happen, and that's what spirit prison is, hell. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and they shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in the case of others, or their case may, by change of circumstances, become his own. If ye love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may our posterity forget that you are ever our countrymen. And nobody could say it better than Samuel Adams. When shall it be said in any country of the world, my poor are happy, neither ignorance or distress is to be found among them, my jails are empty of prisoners, my streets of beggars, the aged are not in want, the taxes are not oppressive, the rational world is my friend, because I am friend of its happiness. When these things can be said, then may that country boast of its constitution and government. Well, we have nothing to boast about here. We have a gang of criminals that have seized control of the government. The jails are bulging at the seams because all the Satanist code enforcers running around populating the prisons. The streets are full of beggars. The aged are in want. Taxes are oppressive, and so we have nothing to be proud about here. We need to take back our governments. What we need to do. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned that the sword come and take any person from among them, he was taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. And this is my effort to make sure that I'm blameless on Judgment Day. Either you're part of the problem, you're part of the solution. I hope you listening to it are blameless as well. But you are now a watchman, and please circulate this video far and wide, or make your own up. But maybe you can say it better than I can. But the bottom line is that we need to put a stop to this. Other videos: Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3, Churchianity Series, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 and 2, Unidroit, Martial Laws Here, Quasi-Contracts, Roman Civil Law, De Facto Courts. All courts are ecclesiastical courts, DC courts in Texas, and jurisdiction. And I've got over 230 videos I've uploaded, and I've got lots that are coming. And so copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. I have YouTube videos that are videos of private information share that show these and other court citations that are available for a donation. And this last paragraph is for all the Satanist order follower revenue officers operating in their private capacity. You can put your privileges and benefits up your rectal orifice. Donations to support this work are appreciated, but I prefer a gold or silver coin. And as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept your IOUs, your Federal Reserve notes, PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. If you find this useful, then you need to pay it forward. If you don't know what pay it forward means, then watch the video. And also, I would like to say, please send me your success stories, because I wanna put it in my blog and let people know what works and where we're having successes. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page is Sovereignty International, but it's actually been deleted because of censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group on Facebook called Sovereignty International is in the process of being deleted because of censorship on the part of Facebook. And I just published a video today about how to hurt Facebook. And so they make their money off of networks, off of people networking together. And so you gotta, if you can't just delete your profile because it'll never get deleted, you have to unfriend everybody, remove yourself from all your groups, and then delete your profile. And I happen to own some groups, so then I have to ban everybody off the groups and make sure they're completely removed. I have a Yahoo private group called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants and a Google private group called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I hope you got something out of it, and please circulate it far and wide and spread the news. It's good news. We're going to put an end to all of this. We know we win in the end. We just don't know how we get there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a real nice day.